So guys, we have seen the entire notebook experiment. Now the first thing we'll be doing the data ingestion part. But before starting with our modular coding implementation, first of all, we'll be doing in the Jupyter notebook. Then once Jupyter notebook experiment is working fine, we'll try to convert this as our modular coding implementation. So for this, in the resource folder, I'm going to create another Jupyter notebook file. Let's name it as 01 data ingestion, because data ingestion would be our first stage. So that's why I've given 01. You can also ignore this number. It's completely fine. But I want to show you the pipeline, like what will be the execution flow. That's why I've given the number data ingestion.ipynb. Okay, so let me select the kernel. So here, the same thing I have to do. I think you remember, we have to first of all get back to our root directory. Okay, that means our project directory. So for this, I have to execute these are the code. So let me copy paste here. Now, if I again show you my project working directory, you can see I'm inside my project working folder. Okay. Now, if you see the workflow, the first thing what we have to update, guys, we have to update the config.yaml. Okay. So I think remember we created one config.yaml file here. So this is our configuration file. So see what you have to write inside config.yaml file. So you have to write some external variable. Let's say the variable you will be changing later on. Okay. So these are the variable you have to write inside config.yaml. Now let me show you. I already prepared some of the variable. So the first actually stage variable would be your data ingestion. Okay. So as you can see, we are performing data ingestion. And to perform this data ingestion, I need some variable. Like I want to create a folder called artifact, right? Inside artifact, what will happen? It will ingest my data. That means the source URL I have given, my data URL. So it will download the data from this URL and it will store inside the artifact folder, inside data ingestion folder. Now let's say next pipeline will execute, let's say data validation. Okay. So inside validation artifact, it will save all the validation related artifacts. That's how transformation, model trainer, model evaluation. So for each and every stage, I'm creating different kinds of artifact folder because I don't want to mess up with all the file, okay, in just one folder. That's why you have to create separate folder. It's a good practice actually. If you're not creating, it's completely fine. But what I usually follow, I create a different folder. Inside that I keep my artifact, right? This is the idea. Now for this, I have created one configuration file, config.yaml. Inside that I'm keeping all the variable name, all the path name, all the URL. Okay, whatever I want to change later on. Let's say I want to change this URL later on. I want to change with any other URL here. So what I will do, I'll open the config.yaml file and I will change the URL here. So what will happen? It will reflect in my all of the code. Let's say whatever code I have written, all the pipeline, it will automatically reflect inside all of my code. I don't need to manually open up all the file and there I need to change, right? So that's why don't hard code. Okay, don't hard code anything. The variable you are using, first of all, try to decide whether it's a static or it's a dynamic. Okay, so based on that, you have to decide whether you have to hard code this variable or you have to keep this variable inside a configuration file so that you can change it later on. I hope it is clear now. Now these are the folders and files changeable. Later on I can change. That's why I have kept inside config.yaml. Okay, because as a developer, let's say if any other developer is coming and they want to, let's operate this project, what they will do, they will open the config.yaml file and there they will change. That is the idea only, right? And you can see this is the data URL. So what I have done, guys, this data I have uploaded in my GitHub. See, whenever I pasted this URL and I press enter, it will automatically download the data because this data is available inside my GitHub. Let me show you. So if I show you my GitHub repo, so this is one of my GitHub repos. So inside that you will see this wine quality data is present. See, wine quality data is present. Okay, you can also keep the data in Google Drive. From Google Drive also you can, let's say, read. You can also keep in the database. See, in this video I'm not going to use database because as I already told you, we are starting with the very basics implementation. Then we'll be going till advanced part. Okay, so this is our first implementation. So here I'll try to use simple technology. Okay, but going forward, I will also show you how we can use databases, S3 bucket. Okay, different kinds of storage service we'll be also using. So this data you can keep anywhere in your S3 bucket, in your database, anywhere you can keep, and from there you can read. So as of now, I'm reading from my GitHub because GitHub is a free. Okay, and you can even if you see the data size, it's also very less. So that's why you can store this data in the GitHub. And how to store the GitHub? Open up any repository, and there you just need to drag and drop the data. So let me show you. Let's say this is my data. What you have to do is just drag and drop the data. Okay, if you drag and drop the data, it will automatically get uploaded. Let me show you. See, it is uploading. Now once it is uploaded, just try to click on the commit. It will automatically commit the data. Now I'll cancel it because I already have it. Now what you have to do, you have to get the link. Let's say this is my data. I'll click here. Now you will get one button called view raw. Just try to right click and copy the link address. Okay, and this is the data link, guys. This is the data link, and this link actually you have to mention inside source URL. Okay, now this is my data ingestion folder inside artifact, and after downloading the data, it will save inside data ingestion folder as a data.zip. And I also need to unzip the data, and it will save inside my data ingestion. Okay, so this kinds of path you have to define inside the config.yaml. I hope it is clear now. Now the next thing, I have to update my schema.yaml. So as of now, schema is not required because see, as of now, actually I'm not creating the data validation. Schema I need whenever I will perform the data validation, like what is my data type, how many columns I am having. So these are the information I will keep inside the schema. That means entire schema of my data. Okay, I think you know what is schema, right? Then I'll change in params.yaml. Okay, params.yaml you also need to change. Inside params.yaml, I'll keeping all the model parameter. Okay, whatever model you are using, you can also keep the model parameter instead of hard coding those. Now see, as of now, don't leave this file empty. Otherwise, if you're executing the code, it will give you error. So as of now, just try to give some dummy value. I'll give, let's say, key value. Okay, like that. So it's a dummy value I'm giving. Also, I'll do it for my params.yaml as well. Okay. Now I think config.yaml updated. Now I have to update my entity. Now let's write the entity, because see, as of now we are doing the notebook experiment. That's why we are not going to change here. First of all, everything will be writing in our notebook. Then we'll try to copy paste in our modular coding, right? Now I have to create the entity. You can see I have to create my entity. Now what is entity? Entity is nothing but it's a return type of a function. Okay. Now let me show you. I already created one entity. So this is the entity, guys. So it's a data class I have prepared. You can see it's a data class decorator. And what is frozen is equal to true, I'll tell you. See, here I have created one class called data ingestion config. And inside that, whatever variable you can see I have defined here, all the variable name I also initialized it here. Okay. And I have also mentioned the data type. Let's say if I show you root dir, what is this? It's a path type data, right? You can see it's a path type data. Then source URL, it's a string type data. Okay, then again it's a path, again it's a path, again it's a path. Okay, that's how you can also define the data type. Okay, now see, this class, this is not actually Python like class, like the OP class. It's a data class right now. That means it can return, these are the variable as a value. Okay, that means whenever, let's say I want to read this data, root data directory, okay, what I need to do, I don't need to call the self. So I can directly initialize this let's say class, and I can read that variable. Okay, so this will so this is the convenience actually this data class will give you. And what is frozen is equal to true? That means whatever variable I have defined here, apart from that, if you want to define any other variable, you can't, because it's already frozen. Okay, so you have already given it fixed. Let's say apart from that, I don't want to keep anything inside that. Okay, I hope it is clear now. Now it will be clear whenever I'll be using this thing as a return type of a function. That time you will get it. Now as of now, let me execute. Now the next thing, you have to update the configuration manager in src config. So inside src config, you can see inside src folder we have config folder. Inside that we have configuration.py. So let's create the configuration.py. And configuration.py is nothing but it's a it will return actually all the configuration. Let's say root directory, source URL, local data file path, okay, zip file path, everything it will return one by one. But for this I have to import some of the library. So but before that, what I have to do, I have to first of all read all the YAML file, right? So for this, what I will do, I'll open the constant. Inside that I'm having one constructor file. Now inside constructor, I will return all of my YAML file path. You can see with the path library, I'm returning all the YAML file path one by one. Okay, so this is what actually I need inside my data ingestion. Now let me import all of them. And if you want to import, guys, how to import? So just write ml, just write from ml project. It is available inside, if you see, it is available inside constant, right? So dot constant import star. That means I want to import everything inside that file. Okay. Apart from that, I also need some utility related function as well, and it is available inside utility. I think you already know. Inside common folder, we created all the utility, right? Like read YAML, create directories. If I show you, so read YAML. This is one, read YAML and create directories. Okay, this is what actually I need, because I want to create a directory. I want to read a YAML file. Now let me import all of them. Okay, now I'll be creating my configuration manager. So this is the configuration manager class, guys, I have defined. You can see here I've created one class called configuration manager. Inside that I've created the constructor, and this inside the constructor I'm reading all the YAML file, you can see from the YAML file path, and from where it is coming from the constant. I think you already know. Then I'm creating the directory, which directory? Root directory. That means artifact root. That means one folder would be created named artifact. Now you can see I've created one method called get data ingestion config, and it is the, and this method return type is a data ingestion config. The data ingestion config we have defined. Okay, that means it can only return, these are the variable, you can see. These are the variable it is only returning, and from where it is getting from the configuration, whatever things we have created inside the YAML file. Okay, now this will give you the entire configuration, that means entire data. Okay, so that is what actually you have to do, and this is called actually configuration manager. Okay, basically for a software you are creating some configuration which you need to create the pipeline. That is what actually we are doing. Now the next thing, I have to create the component. Okay, component, that means my stage like data ingestion, data validation and all. So first of all we have to create a data ingestion component. So for this, let me import some of the library. So these are the library I need. Now let me show you my data ingestion component. So guys, you can see this is my data ingestion component. I created one class called data ingestion. Inside that I'm reading the configuration, and this data ingestion takes actually data ingestion configuration. That means whatever, let's say, configuration you have created now here, this configuration. So it will take all the configuration. Based on that, actually it will perform the data ingestion operation. Now you can see I'm downloading the data first of all with this method. So with the help of request library, it will download data from the source URL. The source URL you have defined here. Okay. Then once data is downloaded, it will perform the login operation. Then it will extract the data. It will extract the zip file. Okay. So this is what actually we are doing, simply step by step. Now let me execute and let me show you. Okay. Now the next thing, I have to create the pipeline. So pipeline means the execution flow, like which method you have to execute first, with which method you have to execute last. Okay. So here is the pipeline, guys. First of all, I'm initializing the configuration manager, because inside configuration manager, I'm having data ingestion related configuration. Okay. So that is what I'm initializing. And then from this configuration manager, I'm getting the data ingestion config. That means this configuration, and this configuration I'm passing to my component. Okay. Data ingestion, you can see this is the data ingestion at intakes this component, right? So that is what actually we are passing, you can see. Okay. Then after that, I'm calling this method, first of all, download file and extract the zip file. That means this is the flow of execution. First of all, this function will run, then this function will run. Okay. And now let's say you are executing this extract zip file at the very first. It will give you error because data.zip file is not present, right? So first of all, you have to download the data, then you have to execute the extract zip file. Okay, this method. This is called pipeline. Now see, if I execute the pipeline, you'll see that it will create an artifact folder. Inside that, data ingestion folder. Inside that, it will ingest the data, and it will also unzip the data. Let me show you. See, it is executing. Now see, ingestion is done. Now if I show you the artifact, now guys, you can see inside artifact, data ingestion is created. Now data.zip file as well as my wine quality rate.csv. That means it has also performed the unzip operation. Now you can see my data ingestion pipeline is running successfully. There is no error. And this is what actually we have done inside our Jupyter notebook. Now what we have to do, we have to convert this Jupyter notebook as our modular coding implementation. Okay.